crying out loud. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to today's episode. Yeah. Ladies and gentlemen, rejoice and welcome to Litty Titty Tuesday. You might have thought that we weren't gonna sing today, but you're wrong and I'm going for the gusto. I don't need auto-tune anymore. Maybe I need a little bit. Ooh, just a little bit. Oh, I didn't know this was a rap song. I thought it kinda was just a piano I was on. But should I start rapping? Or maybe scrap this and start over? But we don't do take twos or take threes. Just feel me. Not in a homophobic way, but hey, if you wanna be gay, that's okay. Why do I always go into being gay? Maybe it's something subliminal, like, hey, I'm gay. Only once when I was in 6th grade at summer camp. I'm lying, I never went to summer camp. We didn't have money, so I just hung out in the backyard. There was a time when I even pitched a tent back there. I didn't even have Boy Scouts, but I had a Boy Scout shirt I got from the thrift store that I would put on and pretend I was a Boy Scout with my brother who was a Boy Scout. Like, why couldn't I have done Scouts too? Why am I dropping all this on you? But sometimes you just realize when you're older that shit is colder than you thought it was and kind of fucked up. But hey, let's go back to summer camp. What a weird thing to send your kids to. Like they're just supposed to have fun and fish too. That bit was going nowhere, but we should probably just bail out of here. Ladies and gentlemen, listen. It's a matter of time before I'm canceled for one of these songs. Let that be the song, because then they'll be like, oh, this kid wasn't a Boy Scout. Okay, well, let him do his thing. That's a real story, by the way. Not the whole, being gay in 6th grade thing. I don't think I was gay in 6th grade. And even if I was, who cares? Who cares? It's so, you remember there's an era of that where like people would be like, they found him, like kissing some guy at a club. Like, society is so accepting right now. Like, that's the one thing that's probably the most beautiful thing. And it's probably an overcorrection. We're just getting into some real shit real quick on Litty Titty Tuesday. I feel like everything is great, I'm a supporter of people loving whoever they want to love, being with whoever they want to be whoever you want to be. Just don't hurt other people. Just be a good person and do whatever you have to do in life to get through. Because listen, this is a short trip, brother. This is a short trip, sister. Non-binary friends. Listen, it's a short trip. Don't spend your life trying to conform, and you just got to do you, boo. All right? Do whatever you got to do to be happy. Love whoever you want to love. Free love for everyone, okay? I'm trying to get back into the dating game. My fiance doesn't support it, though. Hey, doing hacky jokes on the podcast. How you guys doing? Yeah, but that's the one side effect, or, not a side effect, but that's the one thing that's been great about everything getting progressive is that it's more acceptable to be whoever you want to be in this world. My gay brothers and sisters out there, be you, be happy, rejoice. I can't imagine, 10 years ago, how hard things must have been. It's just so different now. And that's one great thing of how much progress we've made, because it does suck. This is what sucks about the current state of cancel culture and, being deemed as progressive. It's been taken to such a far degree of ridiculousness with virtue signaling and just what people get canceled over. It's turned progressive into a bad thing, when in reality, progress is a great thing. But what's happened is it's just gone way too fucking far in a lot of sense. It's a weird world that we live in, ladies and gentlemen. Are we in the end of days? Who knows? Just be happy and do what you love. Who knows? Who knows what's really going on? You see over in Australia, crazy shit going down. They just had, they've been doing like anti-lockdown protests, freedom protests. And you don't see a lot of it in the news here. You have to go to like other news places, because I wonder if they're like, don't give these motherfuckers any ideas that they can revolt against this. But in Australia, they took away, they're still in an insane lockdown, like real insane, where they're like blocking off streets where you're not even allowed to leave here at a certain time. You have a curfew of when you have to be back in your home. You can only go out to exercise at a certain time, and you're only allowed to go in a certain place in your neighborhood. Like, it's real strict. And Australia was one of the places where they hit them with that anti-gun thing, where they were like, they disarmed their citizens. And who had a great quote about that, about the idea of the Second Amendment and gun rights. And part of it was the gun rights were always to be able to defend against your own government, a tyrannical government. And it's weird whenever it's smart. It's smart if you look at why governments want to do this, and the way that they do it is they're not just like, they won't, this shit's chess, not checkers. They're not just like, hey, give us all your guns because we want to be able to make the decisions, all this shit for you. It's always wrapped in a nice bow of being like, hey, school shootings, hey, this, hey, crime. And then what happens is what you see with these cities that defunded the police and all of these things. They're like, yeah, we're going to send out social workers to deal with these mentally ill people. And how well has that worked out? Violence has gone up like crazy amounts. We're talking like over 30% in some of these cities. Gun violence out of control. Because the big thing people don't acknowledge, there's so many guns in circulation. The people who are doing these crimes and everything like that are not the ones who are going through the proper steps to get guns and all of this, you know. It's the ones that don't do that are having gun issues. I don't know how I necessarily feel about the open carry law in Texas here. It's interesting because I'm someone who thinks you should have to, you know, obviously. I would be okay if there was something where texting and driving, if there was some kind of law with that where it was more brutal, it was more, it's a weird problem to solve because I don't know how you don't impede on people's rights to stop them from texting and driving. I don't know what the exact correlation of how many accidents are caused, fatalities, because someone was texting and driving. No one's going to admit it, you know, in a car accident. They're not going to be like, oh, yeah, I just looked down for a second at my phone. I was sending a GIF and I was scrolling through them and then I fucking hit the kids, you know. No one's going to admit that. They're going to be like, the kids came out of nowhere, so we're never going to know. But like, I like the idea of somehow phones knowing when you're the driver, and you can't really text when you're driving. You can't really be on your phone. I try to be always having my phone plugged into navigation, and then it's like I don't really text and drive. If I'm at a stoplight, maybe, but I try not to because it's just so dangerous, you know? How did we get on that? Oh yeah, Australia, the lockdowns. It's pretty nuts. They're literally you should YouTube the footage of these freedom protests and breaking through these barricades and like running free. It's inspirational. And you're literally seeing, like, you just watch a few minutes of it and it looks like it should be a highlight video, like the highlight intro to like a 28 Days Later movie. Where like, oh, this looks like an apocalypse, you know, like some apocalyptic movie about the future and control and government breakdown and, you know, some sci-fi movie. But I'm like, no, this is just really happening in Australia right now. Like they're really fighting for their freedom just to live. It's pretty nuts. It's pretty nuts. Yeah. I don't know how the fuck we got into that, huh? I don't know how the fuck we got into that. Someone with cancel culture? No. Speaking of cancel culture, did you guys see the Emmys? The Emmys. The Emmys is the wildest thing ever. It's really not that wild. I feel like the Met Gala was worse than the Emmys. I wish the Emmys and I wish award shows, because I used to like award shows when I was a kid, and I don't really know if they were about the virtue signal that they're about now, where it's like the Emmys are purely a platform to virtue signal now with their nominations, with who wins what. And it's all focused on inclusiveness to the point of segregation. It's the weirdest thing ever that like all of this is, it's all focused on, it's like such a hot topic right now of minorities, people of color, of LGBTQ plus. I don't know what it is exactly. Listen, LGBTQ. Well, let's find out what it is, because we say it a lot. But here's the thing. LGBTQIA. Okay. Wow. There was a lot of things added to this. When did they update this? But here's the thing. I support whatever, but you got to be a little more. Oh, there's a plus at the end of it. LGBTQIA plus. There's someone who's hoping that I one day hit mainstream success listening to this podcast one night, and they're just like, please stop, Evan. Go back to just singing at the beginning. But you got to be forgiving that people don't know every single letter that is added to it. It's a matter of time before we start adding more letters that aren't even alphabet. So you gotta be a little forgiving. I'll catch up. I'll whatever you want to do. I support it, but you gotta give me a break. All right, you gotta give me a break. But the Emmys is so focused on just this virtue signaling where it's hard to watch, because I started watching this morning, because I know when I'm going to talk about a subject, sometimes I'll do some brief research for the podcast. I do that for you guys to try to bring you guys something. But I was watching a variety video about it, and all the video kept doing, if you want to watch this, it's called The Best and Worst Moments from the 2021 Emmy Awards, The Take. And all it is talking about the missed opportunities to virtue signal. It's talking about, wow, like, a lot of these minorities, or maybe they don't say minorities, maybe they just say people of color. Yo, when did white stop being a color? Huh? What? We're going to pretend like there's not some olive white people out there? Kind of brownish white people? That's a color? What about us mixed babies? Huh? Remember, I'm the dream that Martin Luther King was talking about. My mom, a white lady, blue hair. Thank God my mom doesn't have blue hair. One of those. Ooh. I see blue hair coming up to me after a comedy show. I'm like, okay, let's see what this lady doesn't like about me. I'll see a blue hair in the crowd, and I'm just like, okay, this person already hates me, so make sure I don't look at them to get reassurance that these jokes are funny. But my mom, blonde hair, blue eyes. My dad, brown, just solid brown, dark brown, dark brown, Taino Indian from Puerto Rico. They just mixed, That was Martin Luther King's dream, walking side by side, holding hands. Not what's happening now. It's getting real weird right now. But that's what the Emmys felt like. It's so much of it wasn't even about who made the best TV show, who made the best, best actors. It was all about just nominations and categories and virtue signaling of who won. Because these people talking on this variety show were just literally saying, like, yeah, these nominations are good, but they don't mean anything if these POCs aren't winning. And I'm like, what? This is always my take on equality. And it should be, I feel like it's kind of attack proof. If someone has a different opinion and thinks this isn't the right way to look at this, I'm all ears. Like fucking Trix Rabbit. I'm all ears, baby. But I feel like the idea of equality isn't to replace people and have certain people not included because of their skin color, just so other people can be included. I feel like it should just be about equal opportunity. Everybody should get the opportunity to show why they're the best. Isn't that all it should be? Doesn't that work out much better for the idea of what equality is supposed to represent? And I understand that not everybody starts at the same place, but not everybody of every skin color starts in the same place of what you think that skin color started at. Like, it's all just stereotyping. And it is weird. And especially, I feel like in entertainment, it's a huge thing. Because it's like the number one thing that virtue signals. It has to be entertainment, right? Like, I feel like that's, I don't know, it happens in every industry. But I feel like in entertainment, it is the most virtue signaling platform there is. They do it the most. And I don't know what the answer is, but I feel like don't call it an award show, you know, if that's all you're going to do is just virtue signal. It's just a bunch of celebrities that play pretend for a living, trying to get their opportunity to virtual signal. And like, I don't give two shits what someone who plays pretend all day does, like their political belief. Like, you play pretend. Why would I give two shits of what you think fair is? How do you relate to this human experience? You know, I would much rather listen to the opinion of someone who's worked in a factory for 30, 40 years, putting in real time, real work, people making a difference that don't get the shine that they deserve. I think teachers should make so much more money than what we pay them. I don't know what the fuck happened. I understand capitalism. I understand that actors make a certain amount of money because of the amount of money that they make. But I feel like societies have to invest in themselves from the ground up. And I think a great way to do that is investing in teachers. Like, what is more important than that? But there's nothing sexy about that. Investing in teachers. There's nothing sexy and immediate payback for that. There's no reward. How do people find a way to get rich off of that? You can't. So what do you have to do? They just find ways to cut it. The insane amount of work that teachers do. Like, I feel like that should be a much more prestigious job to be a teacher. Like, that's how in the past you look at, like, dude, and when you see these weird videos of teachers trying to teach these super progressive ideologies and like literally brainwashing kids. I don't think that kids should really learn about politics in general. Maybe we teach kids about ideas of equality, ideas of what it is to be a good human, to care about other people. But like, to tell them, you know, I saw a video of a girl being told that she had privilege compared to another student and all of this, and she needed to understand that privilege and all this stuff. And I'm like, dude, what are you doing to this kid's head? Let this kid be a kid, and equality, and like, just be a good person, you know, don't get all weird with it. But I think teachers should be making like 150, 200K a year. We should find a way to make that happen, right? Make it a more competitive position where we get people who are really qualified and really want to teach and love it and can make a real living from it. Because that's the thing, is when you look at it, like how much a teacher makes versus the amount of work, a lot of people who are smart and who probably would be good at that job don't want to do it because they're like, I'm not going to make anything. It's not going to be fulfilling in the sense of what I can do with my life. It's basically, some of them are saints. The ones who really dedicate themselves to trying to teach kids, they're saints. And then there's so many, I would say the vast majority of teachers that I had in high school, phoning it in. Okay? I had a few good ones. I had a few good ones that like made a lasting impact on me, that like they talked to my soul a little bit, you know. I had an English teacher, I want to say Mrs. Martinez. I think she was senior year, junior year, but she was the greatest to me because she would do this thing where she would give you a topic in the beginning of class, English, and she would tell you, just write a funny story, write something that you that's kind of has this theme. And she would make me write a full page. And I remember she would make the whole class write them, but I would take it as a opportunity. And this is where I was like, oh yeah, this is the dots tracing back to why I do comedy, is I would only try to write funny stories and so ridiculous. Like one day I wrote a story about how I wanted to judge the incoming freshman girls and blah, blah, blah. And this were going to be the categories and blah, 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 like so ridiculous. And then I did one where I was going, like, it was all about the administration and then how I was going to change the lunch setup and then why, like I would just find crazy topics. And she would be like dying laughing reading them. And then she would send them. Like I remember she brought me up after class. She was like, Evan, these are incredible. Like these are so funny and you should keep doing like stuff like this. And I remember it like planted the seed of like, oh my God, this, like I was validated in some weird way. When you're a kid, you're like, there's nothing more important than that, of someone like actually seeing you and taking like interest in what you're doing and like trying to motivate you. And I remember I didn't know this until another teacher. She was one of the swim coaches, Miss James. Shout out Miss James. Love her till the day I die. Love her till the day I die. She randomly was in like the teacher break room, whatever that shit is. I don't know. I never been in that weird room where they would like all hang out and congregate and talk about how they hate their lives. All the teachers were like laughing and Miss Martinez was there and she was just like had a stack of papers and she had brought all my papers that I wrote to like the lunchroom and all the teachers were like dying laughing reading my papers. And Miss James grabbed one and was like reading it. And then she realized, she's like, this is Evan Lopez. She's like, I know him. And then she brought it up to me and I just thought that was hilarious that she actually brought it. So that like planted a seed and like always made an impression on me. And I thank her for that. Another one was in college when I had a teacher in the middle of nursing school. Her and I were alone on an elevator. And I was always making everyone laugh in nursing school. Even when we were doing clinicals, we'd be in hospitals and I'd find ways to make the patients laugh. And I really did. I took stuff serious when I was doing it, but like, dude, I did what I had to do to get through nursing school. I did not want to be a nurse, but I was so locked in that mindset of you just have to do what your parents want you to do. You just have to do what society thinks you should do. Oh, nursing, there's a big demand and it's a great job, great money. I literally would look at cars. I'd look at the Audi and I would just look on their website and build custom cars. And that was what would motivate me to going through nursing school because I hated it so much that I was just like, I'm going to have a lot of money when I'm done with this. And in reality, that should be the telltale sign that you're doing the wrong fucking thing. If you have to look at some materialistic shit like that and be like, okay, but this is going to get me this. I could give two fucks about cars and shit like that. Even though one day I want a Tesla. Hey, how you guys doing? But I remember making everybody laugh, and then we were like in the break room and everything, and even the teacher was in there sitting, and I remember she like even kind of yelled at me, like, Evan, like, pay attention. I was like, all right, bitch. I said bitch with all due respect. I probably actually didn't even say it. But then for some reason, her and I had to go to a different part of the hospital to shadow a nurse over there. And I remember it's just me and the teacher alone in the elevator. And she's just staring at me. And I remember looking at her and she goes, Evan, do you like nursing school? And then I go, I got defensive because, you know, that's just what I did. And she goes, and I just go, yeah. And she says, there's nothing else that you would rather do with your life, you know, something that you enjoy? And I go, no, I enjoy nursing. And she goes, okay, well, you just have to make sure that. And then I remember being like, no, I like it. And I was just super defensive. But it really was a brilliant thing. And that kind of looking back at it was just like, that was probably another, moment where it was actually a favor, because who knows if that planted the seed for me to being like, I don't want to do this shit. No, there's no life in this for me. I didn't agree a lot with, medication and a lot of the care that was given. Dude, literally that same day, I remember her taking me to the other side of the hospital, and I started following a nurse who, dude, he pricked his finger with a syringe, before he injected it into a patient. He literally pricked his finger, and I went to grab the syringe and be like, oh, I'll get another one. He goes, está bien. Like, he said it was okay. And then he literally injected it, and I stood there just looking at him. And for one, he didn't even have gloves on. So I was just like, what the fuck? And then I remember seeing a nurse that same day. This old man wouldn't get out of bed. It was just in the Veterans Hospital, the VA, and she starts pinching him to get him to move faster. And I remember looking and being like, I never want to end up like this, where I'm doing such the type of work where I'm so unhappy with myself and so numb to it that I'm doing shit like this. Because, hey, maybe that was the nature of the beast. Maybe that was what it is after you've been a nurse for 30, 40 years in that particular place. It's just like, this is the way it is. When I was your age and I was in nursing school, I was bright-eyed and bushy-tailed, and I was willing to do anything. But now she was down to do whatever. She was treating them like cattle. And maybe that's what it is. But I just knew that for me, I was never going to flourish in that kind of setting. Just with my personality of how much I care about people, how much dude, I watch a movie scene with, a fucking dog dying, and that shit gets me emotional. I can shut off those emotions, but I'm like, I don't want to. I don't like when guys are like, and girls don't do it as much, but it's like this weird thing that guys do, this macho thing, where like, not me, man. I can just cut the feelings off. Dead to me. And I'm like, why would you ever want to be like that? Be a fucking sociopath, Just weird shit. Weird shit, ladies and gentlemen. How the fuck did we get there, ladies and gentlemen? I apologize. Sometimes we just get too serious on this podcast. And I start going into these weird virtue signal rabbit holes where I just want to talk about these ideas, because like I've always kind of had this weird thing where I don't know what's wrong with something. I haven't fleshed it out perfectly, but I just know it's odd. And I'm like, hey, why are we all pretending this is normal? And it's like the thing with the Emmys and virtue signaling. And when people start saying about these nominations and, oh, we need more wins. And it's like, hey, wasn't the idea of a award show just to see who the best was? And like, wouldn't that feel better? As if you won something where you knew you won it because of how good you were at that thing. Imagine if at the Olympics, they just started giving out first to like fourth place. And they're like, yeah, but we did the math and we think they had a harder time training for this thing. So we're going to give first place to fourth place and you're going to get fifth place, even though you got first place. But the truth is you trained in America. So you had the opportunity, you train better, You get it, right? It's an artificial world. And I don't know the situation because I don't know the right solution, I should say. But I just know this ain't it. This ain't it. Especially coming from a stand-up perspective. I think stand-up, because here's the truth. I enjoy writing a lot. I enjoy TV and film. Obviously, I do video production. I love telling stories through film. Like, you like how deep my voice got there for a second? I love telling a story through film. The art of cinema. I love it, but the industry has turned me off completely just with the way it works. I'm like, oh, I'll never flourish in here because I won't play these games. I'm going to get blackballed. And and I'm never going to thrive, or I'm just going to have to make things on my own, which is fine. And I've always toyed with that idea of doing more stuff with film. But like, as far as the actual output of some of these shows, I love it. Television, movies, storytelling. I could sit there and just talk about shows forever and why the way they tell stories is amazing. I love it. But it's all the bullshit that comes with it. I love seeing all kinds of stories, and I think we should find a way to give all these stories voices. But I don't know what the correct way to do it is, you know? And I feel like sometimes we as a society go to the low-hanging fruit solution of just like, well, we got to do this and this and block this out. And it's like, there's way more variables and it's more delicate, you know? But it's just weird. It's just weird. And the reason I bring that up is like, I was going to say about how is stand-up comedy the last frontier of being able to say shit without consequences for what you're saying. And I feel like that's even going away, you know, because you have people who don't want you to say certain things, even if you're joking, even if it's funny and everybody's laughing. A lot of people get upset with it. And then it comes with the idea of like, in a podcast, should you be okay with saying things under the guise of comedy on a podcast? It's a big thing. That's like the big thing with Shane Gillis, you know? If you don't know who Shane Gillis was, he was a comedian who got SNL. And a week after he got SNL, the people went looking for something to cancel him with. And they found an old YouTube video of where he was doing a podcast. And he said a derogatory term for Chinese people in Chinatown. And if you instantly went to the Chinese slur in your head, you're a racist. We know which one you're talking about, okay? He made a mistake. He knew it was dumb. I'm not really into slurs. They're not really my thing. But I get when comedians say them for effect, you know? That's kind of what the job of a comedian is to sometimes say what people are thinking, or the most 180 thing that you can say in that moment to get a laugh. And I think that's what happened with Shane Gillis. But he got fired from Comedy Central, got tons of hate. And the thing is like, people started cancel culture dogpiling on him. And it, you know, it ruined his career for a little bit. But here's the thing. That dude rose like a phoenix from the ashes. Has a better career now doing stand-up. Dude, his special, Shane Gillis' special that he filmed here in Austin, might be the special of the year. Best special that I've seen in a long time. You can check it out on YouTube. I think it's Shane Gillis Live from Austin. If you just type in Shane Gillis comedy special, you're going to find it. But it's 100% watchable from start to finish. Phenomenal. The bit about Fox dad, having a Fox News dad, brilliant. Brilliant. What am I, fucking British? What am I, fucking Harry Potter? Brilliant work. But what was crazy about that, what we just learned this week, if you guys haven't seen Shang Chi, phenomenal movie with Simu Liu. I think that's how you pronounce his name. Simu Liu. He ripped into Shane Gillis and jumped on him with the whole cancel culture thing when Shane was getting canceled. And then it just came out this past week that Simu had his own skeletons in the closet, where he was, one of them was weird, defending pedophilia on Reddit, and then having his own racist and sexist remarks. But it's like, cancel culture doesn't give a shit. These people aren't for you. They're going to dig into whoever they can. And it's just the weirdest thing. And this is the point I'm making. The people who try to cancel other people, I feel like they always have skeletons. They're always the people trying to like shine a light, like, oh, he went that way, and like pointing so no one else looks at them. And it brings me to the bigger thing. All these people that people cancel, it only works if these businesses and who they're working for cave into it. It's the weirdest thing. it's the weirdest thing because I don't think these people really have as much power as people give them. It's like the Wizard of Oz. They're like behind the fucking curtain and they're just a little person, you know? And I'm not talking about a little person, okay? Not talking about an LP. They're just a smaller person, all right? Than what they're pretending to be, the great Wizard of Oz. And I feel like it's, what's that statistic about Twitter? That like 2% of Twitter makes like 90% of the content. It's just a lot of people constantly yelling over and over and over and over again, the same people. And they're just like, I'm going to cancel my Netflix account if you don't remove their special. And it's like, bitch, we know you're not paying for your own Netflix account. It's ridiculous. But you know where it sucks is when you start getting pushed in the algorithm. Dude, there's so much censorship that goes on in social media. It's ridiculous. As soon as you're deemed problematic by some kind of thing where you get one flag for being a bully, dude, my Instagram account never recovered when I made fun of vegans. Never be the same. But I even have a conspiracy theory that as soon as you put comedian in the title of your Instagram account, I wonder if they're like, okay, let's throttle this account a little bit. You know, there's just statistically, this could be problematic and we should censor it. But that's just my own conspiracy theory. There's nothing really to that. Holy shit, we have gone over time, ladies and gentlemen. Listen, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for being here on a Litty Titty Tuesday. Baby, look at me. I brought out my other microphone for you. How you sexy bitches doing? Ladies and men and non-binary folk. He, she, they, them. The furries. The Caspers. Yeah. Foxkin. I love you all very much. And I will see you guys on Thursday. And remember, no matter what, I still love you.